Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Not Quite Monday Night Live with SAFC Fan TV. It was supposed to be yesterday, bit of a technical hitch with me, but it's just me and Jacob tonight. How are you doing, Jacob?
Not too bad. Just finished Sunderland Till I Die Series 3. I've shouted a lot. I've cried a lot. I've had a lot of thoughts and emotions run through my head, and I can't wait to offload them onto tonight.
Right, okay. Well, keen to hear all them, definitely. But first, let's talk about Plymouth, because what a result, let's be fair. 1-0 down at half-time. Thought the Beale winning streak of 2 was over. But second half, completely different game. What was your takes on the game? Were you there, Jacob?
I couldn't make this one, but I was able to dip in and out of it. But the majority of what I did watch on stream was that second half performance, which is hands down the best 45 minutes of football we've played this season, without a shadow of a doubt. Absolutely fantastic, considering how poor. I wouldn't say poor first half. It was just a little bit lackluster. We weren't really doing enough to take the game to Plymouth, and considering the fact that it was a Plymouth team that were unbeaten in their last few games going into this one. But in terms of the levels of quality, as the first half progressed, you could just tell that we've got enough pace and quality in our team to pick them off as the game goes on. And I think that's what more or less happened. It's a case of so many of our home performances this season where the opposition have tired and we've taken advantage of that. And just the manner of the goals we scored, mate, particularly the second and third one, the pass from 09 to Clark for his first touch to bring it down and curl it into the corner off the post. Wonderful to see. And then Job, who was rested for this one, we didn't think he'd be rested at all by Beale, but it was a decision that the fans have been wanting for the last few weeks now, and his reaction coming on says it all. I think it just shows that he was not happy to be left out himself, and for him to respond like that by putting in a brilliant performance and scoring a fantastic goal was another great thing to see from a fan's perspective.
Do you think it's going to take doing that each time for him to actually wake up? Do you think he's going to be one of these players that's better as a super sub?
Super subs, I don't know. I think it could be a tad different with Joe, but I think it'll be interesting to see whether, because of how good he was coming on, whether Beale puts him back in now tomorrow night. But for me, I can see him making at least maybe 2 or 3 changes from the starting 11 just to rest a few legs. But then again, there's the debate: if we do that and then we don't get a result, Beale will be slammed for it. But at the same time, we should have enough quality on paper to beat this Huddersfield team.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, that's the ones that usually trip us up, right? I mean, I just mentioned in the comments, we've got Brian Scotia Mackham. I think he's been waiting since yesterday for this because he commented earlier on before. He says, hello, lads. Mandy Gray says, hello, lads. Really enjoyed Sunderland Till I Die documentary. Seeing Wee Philly, Jacob and Terry. Did you get your big commission check for that, Jacob? Yeah?
I don't think I'll be allowed it, considering I had a potty mouth on the first minutes of the first episode.
Wasn't that pass by Hume to Clark? Brian Scotia Mackham's asking. Was it Hume to Clark?
Correct me if I'm wrong. It may have been. I thought it was 09 watching it. My stream wasn't the best at the time. I mean, I was watching from Dublin, so it kept stopping and starting. But if it was Hume, a superb ball to play, considering it was something he needed to redeem himself, considering I thought it was a little bit poor from him how he conceded the goal in the first half. But Hume's still a brilliant player, though.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously did the live commentary, and then I did a short of the reactions for each goal, and I think my reaction says it all. I don't know about you, but that Clark goal was just from nowhere. I don't know how it found the corner. It was just unreal, and I thought that's got to be the goal of the season. And then he brings Bellingham on, and I'm like, oh well, I didn't think he'd rest him a full game. We'll see how it goes. And
it's the run from the halfway line with it that just made it more satisfying.
Exactly, and he's like, he must have looked at Clark's goal thinking, you've done that, son. I can do one better. But I mean, what goals? I mean, for them two to overshadow Ekwa's goal, and Ekwa's goal needs a mention as well, because that looked like something worked on the training ground. You know, a little dink pass into the shot. It wasn't like a standard free kick that we seem to waste all the time. It was really well done.
Training ground, yeah. And it's an assist for Roberts as well. He was dying to get that first one of the season.
And there you go.
Probably one that he won't look back on, but he wanted to just get off the mark in terms of getting that first assist.
Do you remember that great assist where I rolled the ball 2 foot?
Yeah, literally. I as soon as that free kick was, as soon as the foul was made, I wanted Ekra on it straight away. I know Roberts was standing over it. It could have been a left foot curler for him, but from what I've apparently, Ekra recently has been hitting them left, right, and centre in training and finding the net all the time. So yeah, he's a man on confidence right now, and it could be another good set piece option if we win one outside the box for him to be over it.
It's reassured me a bit because that we're working on set pieces, because set pieces like that and corners is what's been our downfall recently. So I'm glad to see something like that. Just mention it is Thomas Scottish Mackham's birthday today. So happy birthday, Thomas Scottish Mackham. A few people have said, Jim Nesbitt said it was Hume, and so did Telly. So it must have been Hume.
I've just watched it back now. It was Hume. Staying with Trey Hume, how much would you say he's worth now, putting in second half displays like that? I mean, for me, he's definitely one of the more underrated players of this squad. The journey he's been on to be such a key member of this side is, you sort of get emotional, really, because he was on the verge of getting pushed out the door. You know, he was out in the cold. It looked like there was no way back for him in terms of rectifying his Sunderland career, and now what a right back, mate. What an unbelievable right back we've got at our club right now.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. I'm not going to put a monetary price on. I'll say, anyone watching, not for sale.
Along with Clark.
Clark and everyone else. If we can hold on to all our players, we'll do all right. Right. So, I mean, there's not much else to say about that. I'll tell you, there is one more thing to say about that. Well, two questions. Has your mind changed on Beale because of the net and that result as well? And who's your man of the match?
Man of the match, for me, there's only one. I know he didn't get on the score sheet, but it's got to be Dan Neil, mate. The guy is just out of this world. He could play football with a blindfold on in the centre of the park and still not give the ball away for an entire game. He's that good. People don't realise how good he is. It's just ridiculous. You could play as a holding midfielder, box to box, attacking midfielder. There was even a period in League One where he was playing at fullback. The guy is just. If you asked the geezer to play centre half, he would as well. He's just an all-round great footballer to have at this club right now. I mean, his price tag must have shot up by, I don't know, 5 to 10 million after that second half display against Plymouth. I mean, there's all the talk about right now. Are we going to keep Clark in the summer? For me, the debate should be about Neil, mate. To be honest with you, what's going to be? Obviously, Clark's going to be a big loss, but how much of a loss would Neil be if he was to go?
I think he'd be a bigger loss than Clark, only for this. I know Clark gives us goals, but only for the fact that we've tried other people there. When Ekwa plays further back, doesn't quite do the same sort of job. Barr playing in the centre doesn't do the same sort of job. Even Pritchard playing in the centre doesn't do the same sort of job. So, whereas Clark, we have got a few players that can play out there, and this new Mundle that we saw can play where Clark plays. So I don't want to see any of them go, but it would have to be a like-for-like replacement if Neil went. You'd have to get somebody really good, a good playmaker in that centre.
He plays like a player that's been playing top flight football for like the past 5 years. They need the confidence of them. And consider he's only 21, 22 right now. So the best of him, his peak years are still yet to come.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And Beale, your thoughts? Are you starting to lean back towards pro? Is he winning you over? He's winning a lot of people over. I've noticed people's surveys on Twitter have gone from 99% Beale out to a kind of 60, 70% in now.
It's on the side. I mean, for me, he's done well recently, you know, to turn some things around in terms of, I mean, he probably hasn't done this, but listening to the fans of what they want in terms of how he sets up his team. We all knew that he needed to take Job out the side. He eventually did that at the weekend, which was fantastic to see even more him come off the bench and get a goal. But it'll be interesting because now will be the point of the season where managers will be thinking, doesn't matter what division you'll be in next season, they'll have no choice. They'll have next season on their minds as well of what they'll want to do recruitment wise. And I think that will be the point of maybe judging Beale a little bit more. That I always give a manager, I'd say at least 2, unless it goes horribly, horribly wrong, 2 transfer windows to properly judge. But then again, you know, Beale, he won't have a say on, more or less won't have a say on who comes in, but he will have his coaching power to improve these players. And that's what he's slowly starting to do with some of them now, but it's what he does when new players are integrated into this side as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll remain on the fence for the foreseeable on that one. I just think a PR guy's grabbed hold of him and said, "This is how you do pressers. This is how you act at the side of the pitch." And he seems to be starting to act a bit more like we want him to now. So moving on from that, sorry, I'll just say Jim Nesbitt agrees with you. Dan Neil plays pretty much every game as well. Might have occasional slip dips, but awesome overall record. We've got 42 people in at the moment. If you can make sure you all hit like for us, it's much appreciated. So now, Jacob, we'll go on to elation, tears, misery, and love. That is Sunderland Till I Die. So I'll let you give your...
I never got the chance. Didn't get the chance to ask at the beginning. Did you manage to get through all 3 of the episodes?
No, if my boss is watching, but yes, I did.
Early rise. Didn't get put live on Netflix till about 8 in the morning, then.
Yeah, well, I was coding on one screen and that was on the other, so I got through it.
Shush. Yeah, we'll start with the first episode, mate. Obviously, we had to stick with the doom and gloom to start with, which was the back end of Lee Johnson's tenure as Sunderland manager. It's just a shame the first game was one of the worst, well, probably the worst defeat in the club's history. I was there. Netflix camera caught me having a right potty mouth for the world to see. But probably people watching would understand the frustration that day. And the lowest of the low was probably felt when we had Dodds in charge and we got beat off Cheltenham.
Yeah,
people thought, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? Where's the positivity? But watching it, you sort of knew the edit was favoured more into a return of Roy Keane coming back. Well, that's what the editorial team would have hoped for. Watching it was all set up for that to happen. That's hence why they covered the likes of the Doncaster game at home, the Cheltenham game away, and obviously they had to capture the final game under Johnson, which was the Bolton 6-0 defeat. But episode 1, I thought, was done. It captured the city and the fans really well, particularly those lads who were sat round a table having crack about the season and going for the morning dip in the sea.
Yeah.
I really like that bit. And considering I don't think we saw those chaps in the first 2 series, did we? New characters.
Yeah. It's good. It's nice to see a different range of people in there. I'm not sure if it was it in the first episode that you saw the veterans as well? Or is that the second
episode?
Episode 2. I'm going to get mixed up in all the episodes. It's all just one big marathon to me, but I did like seeing that, and I like seeing Clark and Roberts go out. What made me sad about the whole thing a bit was, obviously it was shot and edited before we lost Gooch and before we lost Pritchard. Okay, we lost him. We'll go to the comments quickly while Jacob's got something to sort. Brian's, Beale shown more passion from the sidelines, which is much better than hands in the pockets. Couldn't agree more with that one. Are you back now, Jacob? Yeah? Mute. You're muted.
Apologies.
Yeah, I was just saying that it seemed to be, it must have been shot and edited before we lost Gooch and Pritchard, because there was a lot around them, and Pritchard did a lot of talking, and that kind of made me sad at bits that probably weren't supposed to be sad when it was edited together, because it genuinely looked like he had a love for the club, and we know Gooch did, and even when he left on great terms and left a nice message for the fans. But do you think, or did that tug at your heartstrings as well, seeing them two so much part of it?
Yeah, I don't know. With the Pritchard thing, it's interesting because the editorial team are very good at, selecting certain bits and then having a particular clip related to completely something else. I don't know whether the Pritchard interview from episode 1, whether that could have been, how he said he rated the manager in Lee Johnson, whether that could have been instead, he could have been speaking about the owner. But they just used that section to speak. Because for me, it just looked like, particularly that Bolton performance, the players had given up playing for the man. They just didn't see that this guy had enough leadership and his managerial skills to get us over the line and get us out of that division. They just needed a more experienced head in that dressing room, but someone who knew how to do it tactically as well. And obviously, you look at Neil's first game in charge was the Wimbledon one. Pritchard got on the score sheet, scored a brilliant free kick. I was there that day. One thing that was obviously I was going to highlight with you. We saw a lot of Kirill, Louis Dreyfus in the 3 episodes, but Christian Speakman, there was a lack of him, I felt, which I thought he would have been a key character to have on camera, considering a lot of the signings were made through him.
Do you think he didn't want that, or do you think he's avoiding that purposely? Or
well, he was used a few times. I think they spoke to him definitely for longer, but they just decided to use little snippets from his interviews, which was quite strange, I felt. Consider he was a decision made by the club at the time to bring him in terms of recruitment.
Yeah.
But on to KLD himself, I thought he came across fantastic. To be honest, I thought he spoke from the heart really well, considering the previous guys in the boardroom we've had on the previous 2 series. Martin Bain just looked like someone who lost all confidence to do his job. Meffin and Donald, clearly they had final say in what was going on. With how the series is going to look, series 2 is going to look overall in terms of the edit, particularly Meffin lapped up the cameras whenever they were on him. But yeah, with Kirill, came across well. The only downside, which was snapped up. I'm still on the fence with him, by the way. He's such a lovely bloke, but has he got enough of a business brain to take this club to that next level? I'm still undecided with that, but let's take into account, obviously, this was shot 2 years ago, and I thought how he spoke from the heart, going back to his dad in the Marseille days was absolutely fantastic. So it's just a shame with, you probably saw this on Twitter this week with one of the, there was a line of him saying, "I've been surrounded by good, knowledgeable people," along those lines, and then it was him stood next to Sepp Blatter, which didn't do him any. But that's obviously that's poor. that wasn't good for him.
Yeah, no, it was nice seeing a bit of his background and stuff, because with his dad and Marseille, and obviously he lost his dad at a young age, but clearly football had a big influence on his life, and that's nice to see as well. He's not, even if he needs a bit more advice around the business side of things, he's not just there for the business side of things. I feel like he's got a bit of football passion about him. I can kind of relate. I grew up with my stepdad managing football teams, and it was like I was around the whole atmosphere, and it gets in your blood. And I was early 20s when I first managed my first team because it gets in your blood. So it's nice to see that. And it's nice to see that side of him, because other than formal statements, I've not seen anything from him, directly to the fans. So it was a nice insight that way. So going on to the final episode with them, which was obviously a great moment to relive.
I thought we're not doing episode 2 is fantastic. I thought
we'd skimmed over them.
Episode 3 was, we all know what happens, but I thought episode 2 was very wonderfully shot. I would say I thought probably my favorite bit of the entire series, for the whole of series 3, was when Roberts and Clark went to go and see Steve Cams. I think that's his name, with the East Durham veterans.
Yeah,
where they went to help cook all the veterans and me. I thought that bit just represented the heart and soul of the city at its best. And obviously the veterans wanting to have photos and have deep chats with them as well, and how it like slowly went into the edit of Roberts's career after that. I thought that was really well done. Probably my favourite bit of the series.
Yeah. Interesting take on that as well, on Roberts' career side of things, that the fact that you don't think of it too much, but these players that get loaned out here, there and everywhere, and all he wanted was a club to settle with. And, that's what he got when he came to Sunderland, somebody he could actually stay at. Because I think he was sick of loaning out 6 months here, 6 months there, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's nice to see he's got I think it was summed up by Alex Neil, a settled home, because it's just been made up by loan spells. I mean, the amount of loan spells he's had before he signed for us was ridiculous. Borough, Derby, Celtic. I'm not sure Celtic might have been, I think it might have been a permanent move, but he went over to Genk in Belgium. There was another foreign club as well, that he went to Man City. That's where he started as well, but he ended up staying there for 6 months. So it was good to see that, because he was out in the wilderness before we got him. Really, I was surprised that, I think at the time when we got him, that clubs didn't want to take a punt on him because of his fitness. They were unsure whether he'd be up to scratch, because I think he'd not played consistently for about 6 months up until the time we signed him, that January window.
Yeah. I mean, but wasn't he 8 million as an 18-year-old, wasn't it? The signing.
Yeah, Fulham, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Unreal, that kind of price. And then it just seems to get left on the lay-by. Ross Stewart was as surprising for me, because he almost went to non-league Scotland at one point. Just the lower league sort of thing, like playing at grounds that would be like round the corner from your local rec. And did you what he said about his transfer? So that he wanted £1,000. They were offering £1,000 to transfer him between the two Scottish clubs, and they asked for 1,500, and they said no, we can't do it. So his own dad, paid the £500 difference to let him go. That's his career almost. Yeah. If his dad hadn't paid £500, his career could have been a completely different career. That's insane. I mean, we got the best out of him, and we got the best money out of him at the right time. So, it's weird seeing all these players so late on, because this is 2 years, in the making.
It was Speakman said that he was. They were looking at getting a forward that can also play on the left as well, and I think it'd be interesting to. Did he mention that Stewart could play that role as well at the time we got him, and then he sort of developed into an out-and-out number 9 as he progressed?
Yeah, well, yeah, because they said they were after a number 9, didn't they? But he was more of he was less of that. But yeah, it's it's interesting to see how that all comes in. And it does kind of give you a little bit more faith in their recruitment power, where they pull in these players and we're all like, who's he? I don't know this. It showed clips of Jamsani on there, didn't it? Saying, no, I don't know much about this lad, and Jalsey. So
David Hindmarsh as well.
Yeah, but you know, and at that point in that transfer, I remember when he came in thinking, "Oh, who is he? Got a good." And we've been doing that this window, so it does give you a bit of faith in, you know, they must know what they're doing a bit.
Well, I remember his debut away at Wigan. He came off the bench, and I thought, nah. Well, so it was a tough period for him to break into the team and be a key member of the side, considering we still had Charlie Wyke at the time. There was no way that he was going to be dropped for him. He had to earn his place in that start, and we saw the best of him the following. He had to wait patiently for the first 6 months, but when he started firing, mate, you know, he was unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. Just a perfect player to help you get out of that division. Alex Neil, that's what I was going to ask you, Michael. What did you make of his portrayal on the Netflix cameras?
Obviously, there's a bit of bitterness already there, prejudging something like that when you're watching it. But it was interesting that they actually aired the fact he said, I've not had a job for 11 months and I needed to get back into football. And that's what people said. You know, as soon as he got the job offer somewhere else, he took it. He was just getting back, finding his feet again. I still find it a really strange situation, because he could have done great things here. He could have kept going. His portrayal in it was, I think it was pretty non-biased, but I've got them biases already. That's the problem.
Yeah. In terms of how, obviously, from a neutral's perspective who doesn't follow the club at all, people would think he comes across as this proper arrogant person, away from football as well. But I thought at the time, you know, he was purely appointed to get us out of that league, when he managed to do that. And you have to admire just the confidence he had to get that team out the mire and inject confidence again, and particularly how he managed to integrate 09 back into the side. I thought was a key part of episodes 1 and 2 as well, which goes on to Luke 09, who turned out to be, there's a reason he was interviewed at the Premier last night, because he was also a key person in the 3 episodes that we saw, mainly in episodes 1 and 2. But Luke, it couldn't have been a better edit for the man, the way how he spoke about his shoulder popping out from going to that, tactically following Barry Bannon to the toilet, in terms of his man marking skills. That was one of the best lines of the series, by the way. I thought that was out.
Yeah. He's great. I love Luke 09 for that. He always comes across as that. He is pretty much Mr. Sunderland at the moment, isn't he? But he does come across as a good laugh in the dressing room as well. But I mean, that's probably why he's earned himself the armband, not just his ability on the pitch, but the camaraderie that they seem to have, which came across really well. But his rehab looked intense. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of physical fitness and stuff like that, and some of the stuff he was doing, like with his push-ups and keeping the tennis ball up on his shoulders and rotating and doing practically breakdance moves to check the whole rotation. Fair play to the
but then again, I don't. That may have been before his shoulder popped out on a few occasions with the edit, but it's mad. I think he had that same shoulder problem about 4 or 5 times before, and he needed surgery, and he came back in but it's the way how Alex Neil summed up about his presence in the dressing room, which I don't think, from a neutral's perspective, a lot of people really understand how much of an influence he has on that team, where he doesn't have to play at all, but the performances in terms of the effort and commitment up from the rest of the squad because of him being around.
Yeah, because they talked about the morale, because they lost the girl that was in the offices, and he said, if you think Yeah, if you think I've got the positive attitude, she was even like more than me, sort of thing. So it was nice to see that as well. Bristolian Mackham sums him up there. He's a good fit for us, like Ball. So yeah, like Kevin Ball was, I assume. That's that's a definitely this sort of character I get. So do you want to lead into the next one?
I will. Episode, well, results wise, we know what happens for if Sunderland fans are watching, don't we? But I'm trying to remember whether it was, because this is going to be the first topic of conversation I was going to speak about regarding episode 3, but or was it episode 2 where the Under the Cosh podcast fed into the playoff matches with Chris Brown and his dad? Was that 2 or 3?
I think that was the end of 2. Was it?
End of 2, because they were going to the away leg, weren't they?
Yeah.
That bit. I it's one of, if you haven't seen it, it's one of the best match vlogs, that final on their channel, of just any final in general. How the day panned out for them and the footage they got, which they used clips of, was brilliant, with John Parkin and Chris Brown. Who mentioned after that Burton game he had no willingness to watch Sunderland again following their relegation to League One, and he summed it up well. It felt like everyone was back on side with what the club were doing, and you felt like you were a supporter again during that period. And even though there was uncertainty because of our previous records we'd had in playoff games, there was just confidence there that we were going to do it this time. And Steve summed it up well as well in the clips used, East Durham veterans, that it was our time. That you just felt it was our time, and it was. And the third episode following, Ian Wake, God rest his soul, obviously brilliant ending, with the ending with him being used, and it was emotional at the same time, but also very heartwarming. The clip of him with going down to Wembley with his best friend in the car, and the whole Wembley weekend. One thing that I was a tad disappointed, I was hoping they would use a little bit more Trafalgar Square clips from the night before. We didn't really see that until the end of the episode, but other than that, it was just the perfect ending in a way. You go, Michael.
I was just going to say, I thought they were going to use a lot more of that as it was leading into it. And then when it started getting into the game, I was like, they're not showing any of the kind of Trafalgar takeover. So I was a bit disappointed at that point, but they did show it afterwards, which I'm glad of.
Yeah. And obviously good to see Peter Farrer back amongst the cast as well. You could listen to him all day. I've met the man himself. He's just, his knowledge for the club and his love for the club, it is undescribable at times. He's just such a down-to-earth bloke. And if you're lucky enough to be picked up in his taxi, taken to somewhere around Wearside, just have a chat with him. He could speak to you all day long and not go to sleep. He could speak about Sunderland for without a wink of sleep with someone. He's the dream of a bloke.
As long as you're not on the meter, though, right? Time ticking over as he's talking about something.
Well,
make sure you pay him first.
I guarantee those Netflix cameras would have been with him for ages, and they would have had to have gone through footage after footage of what he had to say, and it would have been such a hard job from an editor's point of view to select what we're going to go into that season.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but even though you know the results, watching it, like the slow motion equalizers and stuff still give me goosebumps. I don't know what it is, but it's just, I did a mini review on this before on my own channel, and all I could say was like, Fulwell 73, take a bow. I was ready to be disappointed because it was only 3 episodes. You know what I mean? Because we'd had was it 8 on the previous ones,
8 for Series 1, 6 for Series 2, and then 3 for this one.
Yeah. So when it announced us 3, I was expecting to be, oh, this is just going to be shoddily put together leftover clips, but very well done. Very well done.
I think if Defoe had stayed till the end, that they might have had a one-off episode about that January deadline day, which would have been perfect for our channel subs, by the way, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah. It's Jermaine Defoe. Bristolian Mackham says, even if we go up, I won't be upset because we know the boys never go up and they will get the job done. We just have to be patient. Do you think this, I mean, this does a lot of favours, I think, for the club, something like this. Although it's like, people might say, oh, it's reliving past glories, but it just gives you a bit more love for the club, and especially when you see like the cook still there from the first 2 series and stuff like that, and you know, the kit guy, and I know people did lose the jobs and he even mentioned that, but there's still people there, and it gives you just more love for the club. It's not just a surface, these are the 11 people on the pitch, you know what I mean?
I would play particularly episode 3 in the dressing room before every game now to the end of the season.
That's honestly 40 odd minute warm up time gone because we're sat watching this every.
Well, no, actually, because they've got the facilities to do it on the bus. Have it down, played on the bus, and then go in and do the warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Followed by the Rocky.
Having how important it is to have for it to be a lucky charm to have 2 cups of tea rather than 1 going down to a game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
if that's her good omen, fair enough, it worked on the day. Yeah. It was nice. It was nice. McDonald's tea is something out of this world as well, so that's a good choice on Ian's behalf.
Yeah, it was nice because to see her in the perspective, because at the end of the last season, it was one of the iconic scenes is her saying, "Why is it never us?" You know what I mean? So that was a nice closure point, really.
Yeah, you could feel her like pain and heartache from the end of Series 2, and for that to be, obviously, it's a shame that she lost her friend Ian, which was showing at the end. But at the same time, I think it was nice to see that she did have some happiness and joy as well.
Yeah.
Aside, obviously, losing Ian, but the tribute inside the ground at the end of the episode, which was, I think it was when the players wore the red shorts in the whole game, where the tribute was made. The whole of the ground, you know, just lit up in a. I'm actually trying to remember what game it was where we did, because I remember in the build up to it there was the whole thing about he passed away. We were going to do a minute's applause at a certain minute. I just can't. I'm trying to remember which home game it was. It the whole game?
I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, without looking, I couldn't tell you. Somebody will tell us in the comments very shortly. I have no doubt.
Yeah, but if anyone's watching tonight who knew Ian, what an absolutely smashing bloke he is as well. You know, he the life, and so I mean, I'd love to have my hands on some of his mugs that he had on that shelf. Oh my god. That is some collection of mugs you've got there.
That's definitely a dedicated fan who's seen all them troubled times, but it was nice that, you know, he got that Wembley. It's nice that he got that Wembley win.
It was sad for him. Well, watching it was heartbreaking to hear that obviously he had to downsize and move from his previous property, and didn't he have to sell some of his stuff in order
because it wouldn't fit in. Yeah. I mean, that I thought they would. I didn't know that he'd passed. I remember seeing the tribute and the applause for him, but I didn't remember the name. I didn't put 2 and 2 together till the end of it. So, like when it was the funeral scene at the end, that was like, oh crap! And then that's when it all twigged for me. But yeah, it was when they're showing that, I thought they were just showing the sign of the times, the current economic climate, and all this lot. You know, trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, I would have thought. Obviously, is it Mark Linden Smith, the priest? Let's see, pronounced.
Oh, yeah,
I think that's it. Obviously, we didn't really see. You overhear his voice sometimes, but I thought he may have got a little bit more to say on camera compared to like what he had the previous 2 series.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine they had a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor to make it into 3 episodes. So there'll be a lot that's that we won't see. So that's. Do you think there'll be another series? That'll be my question to you. Do you think we'll carry on?
It all depends. I mean, it's like this for a lot of sporting Netflix documentaries. It all depends on the viewing figures, doesn't it? If it absolutely booms and does so well, that full well 73 might not have a choice in terms of progressing financially for them to do another one. Let's just see what the viewing figures are going to be like into next week from it, because I think even though it's such a great happy ending, they may not have a choice, to be fair. If they see what could be offered based on viewing figures for them to do another series, they may turn around and say, let's go. Let's go.
I hope so. I like to see the insights in the back end of the club and stuff like that. And like I say, we got to see a lot more of KLD. So that was interesting. We could probably talk about this for a lot longer, but we will move on to Huddersfield.
We can come back to it in a sec, but we'll go with Huddersfield.
Did you want to?
I've got a lot more to get off my chest.
This is a 3-hour Jacob special.
It's the best of the 3 series, mate, and it's just gut-wrenching. It's only 3 episodes long.
Yeah, you go, carry on. We'll jump Huddersfield when you're done. You vent what you need to vent. Definitely.
Yeah, got. Lyndon Gooch. He was appreciated before, but after this series has come out, he's appreciated even more, isn't he?
Yeah. Another sad loss. So,
yeah.
It's when he's when they're looking at the pictures of the people on the wall that have come through the academy, and this picture of his debut game, and they showed his goal from his debut game. His first goal. That's It's you see some of the great players that we not managed to keep hold of.
And the fact also he's trying to sound more English in each of the interviews that he's got on the series, with it's him trying to tweak his accent more to suit the Netflix cameras, which is brilliant to see as well.
Yeah, it sounded to me like he was wanting a new contract.
Well, it's what he said at the end of episode 3, where wasn't his deal up and then we gave him a 1-year extension, but he wasn't to know that. I think that contract was offered after the final.
Yeah, that was it, because he had 6 months left that ran up to it, didn't he? And he thought he could have been gone after it, but I don't know why a player like that we've not gone, here you go, there's 3 years, there's 4 years, there's a 5-year contract. You know what I mean? Do you think doing a 1-year extension on players like that is right?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that for a lot of players we've had over the years, but it wasn't to be with Gucci. But there's no doubt you can't underestimate his love for the club. Obviously, it was great with the shots they used in terms of going through the timeline of when he started up until the playoff semi-final with Sheffield.
Yeah. Paul Heron says, feel sorry for Gooch. Stoker's imploding and the fans are getting toxic. There's 55 people watching. Make sure you've hit the like button. So, go on, Jacob. Carry on. Are you got more?
Of course, we haven't mentioned also the kit man.
Yeah, but I briefly mentioned him, saying it was nice to see that. But yeah, go on.
But in terms of, I thought he came across as one of the more underrated characters. I thought he spoke, particularly when he spoke about Lyndon Gooch. I thought that was really nice to see, and obviously him printing out the Louise Wanderers shirt to have in the dressing room, which was a nice touch as well. But despite obviously him highlighting, didn't he used to work for Middlesbrough before he came?
I'm not sure. I remember that was his idea to print the shirt, though. That was great. That that he managed to get that in, and they took it to Wembley as well.
But doesn't that, because I was convinced that the previous kitman Steve Cook, I thought he was still there for that series, but he must have got made redundant the season before.
Yeah, well, he mentioned that his boss got fired, and he had to take a pay cut to stay there. So, yeah, it's scary. So he was probably the assistant kitman beforehand, I guess.
Yeah. But comes across as a really, really nice bloke, a nice person to have around the dressing room. Good crack for the lads. So, yeah, for the future, because I'm guessing he'll be here for the foreseeable future. Just a genuine nice bloke and a great person for the job, which is really good to see someone who's in for Cookie's replacement doing that well on all cylinders.
Yeah. It's weird. It's the little back end things of the club that most people don't see, isn't it? It's the same with the chef, though. I can't remember her name.
Joyce.
Joyce. That's it. And in the original series, she wasn't the main chef, was she? There was like a proper chef.
Was he Italian? I can't remember. Italian or French?
I was going to say French. I'm not sure, but I was going to say French. But yeah, so it looks like that might have been the similar situation where they've had to get rid of the person with the larger salary, and she's been promoted by default. But it was nice to see her there, but she didn't, again, had nowhere near as much screen time as she's had previously.
Yeah, she's always got the love for the players, Joyce. Hoping even if they come in not feeling 100%, she always makes sure that they've had a good plate of scran, getting them ready for the day.
Yeah, Mandy Gray says he was at Middlesbrough as a kit man before coming as an assistant kit man.
There we go.
Yeah. So, and then he got a promotion and a wage drop all in one season. Right. Huddersfield?
Let's go, mate. Let's go. We could probably, it'll be interesting to take for the Thursday Night Live the lads' point of view about the series as well.
Yeah, definitely.
What they want to say.
Yeah. Anyone who's watching, we've got 58 people watching as well as the live chat. Feel free to join in during, but leave a comment on the video at the end as well. And if we see any particular questions on it, we can pick them up on the Thursday show. So next up, is this another 3 points? This should be another 3 points for Beale, in my opinion. But history tells us that these are the kind of games we decide to chuck in the bin. Huddersfield 21st. And we're obviously sat 7th at the moment. So it's a big game for us. We're still one place. It's funny how that series slightly coincides with our positioning at the moment, where we're creeping just outside the playoffs. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, Huddersfield changes, same team, Jacob, for you? Or do you think obviously rest needed because it's a midweek one now?
For me, I can see Michael Beale making 1 or 2 changes for this one, but I'm still undecided of what changes he'll make. It wouldn't surprise me if he finds a way to put Joe back in, particularly after his second half display at the weekend. If he's going to do that, the one I can see him coming in for would be Barr in a midfield 3, because I think he'll stick with the same formation that started, which looked like a 4-3-3. I think he will stick with that. Another could be Munderwin for Roberts. Would you agree? Up top, giving him some minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get some minutes. I didn't see all that much from him when he came on. He did nothing that did nothing wrong, but he did nothing that really impressed me. you know, so it'd be nice to see him get a bit more of a stint. But again, Roberts is only just coming back, so it's difficult. You want them to get the time, but you also, as SJ says, we better not take this game for granted, because these are usually the games we slip up on. So you want rotation, but not too much rotation. Maybe, maybe tinkering with the strike force is going to be the other one, because Rusin on his own, I don't think works. I still don't think it works on his own. He's not a solo striker.
So Burstow to partner him?
Either that or Hamir. But
then again, you'll have to sacrifice a midfield player, which is, I just don't see, considering he's a manager that doesn't play with width a lot of the time, I just don't see Beale doing that.
No, this is the thing. It's difficult, but it would be a case of probably playing somebody like where Job's playing just behind and encouraging him to go up front with Rusin, you know what I mean? So it makes that two. It just seems like when it's Rusin on his own, when it's that quick breakaway and there's no support around him, he doesn't really have it. He's easily muscled off the ball, I believe. But yeah.
Because I can imagine Huddersfield being more of a physical presence compared to previous opponents we've had the last few.
But do you not think it'd be the kind of game that you could experiment with something more attacking? Obviously, don't take things for granted, but they are 21st and we should be beating them easily. Yeah. So this might be the game where you can rest Ekwa and have Neil and Roberts, or Neil and Barr in the centre. Neil and Job.
I don't see him taking Ekwa out this side at this moment in time. I think he's made himself to be a key player in this team. I know there's the talk of he did have a bad injury early on in the season. He came back from that, but I think his role in the side now is just so valuable on an attacking point of view that I can't. If we continue to play him as sort of like an attacking midfielder rather than a sitter.
Yeah. Telly says Burstow is not the answer. Brian Scotia Mackham says, "Where's your whiteboard, Mike?" I'm not Terry. I'm not trying to take over that role. I've got
Terry was on the series, wasn't he? First 5 minutes.
Yeah, he was. He was. Yeah, screaming into the camera in his iconic way. Yeah, no whiteboard, but I've just in the process of setting up the 42-inch there. I'll get team lineups on that eventually. Rusin is too small to play the lone striker. Should be able to be a target. See, I think Job would be a better lone striker than Rusin would be.
But we don't cross the ball enough with height, do we? We always seem to get to the byline or drill it across. There was a moment in the first half on Saturday where Clark did that. He used his pace to get to the line, and I think the defender just got in front of Rusin to put it out for a corner. But I think that's purely the way we're going to play right now. We're a counter-attacking threat under Beale.
Brian Scotia Mackham says, "Give Rigg a start." What did you think when you saw him come on? Because he got quite a few minutes in the last game. Do you think it's someone that you'd want to see start?
Well, he's in contention, considering I think that's the most minutes he's had as a sub coming on this season. I think I'm pretty sure he had even less than that when the game he scored, which was the Southampton one. I think he was only on the pitch for about 10 minutes that day. But yeah, Riggy, a good option to have attacking wise for a game like this. I think he may. I think Beale will take into account the poor away form we've had this series, this season as well. I think that is something he's been looking to improve since he's come in. I think away from home, what summed us up best away from home, the type of performances he wants us to create was that whole win on Boxing Day where we set up well to catch them on the break, and then it was a classic Jack Clark goal. I think that's the type of performances we'll see away from home. But then again, the argument would be Huddersfield are not a decent side defensively at this moment in time, and we've got the pace and power at the top end of the pitch to pick them off, considering they're coming off the back of a 5-3 defeat. I know they've just got in, didn't they appoint a new manager recently? I know they had the caretaker lad in charge after getting rid of Darren Moore, but I think they may have someone new lined up.
It's Worthington, their manager at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny. They set up the same as the last game. They literally got the same setup with 3 at the back, 4 in the middle. So the question is, if they setting up the same as Plymouth Argyle, do we go out exactly the same sort of setup and do the same thing again? But that first half, if Plymouth had got a few more shots on target, would have been a different game. It was still a flat first half, so I still think we need changes. I still think we need some more.
And how we left ourselves so exposed at the back as well for the goal we conceded, which I don't know why. Watching it back, it's still puzzling why Patterson decided to come off his line.
Yeah, it was. It was an odd one.
He was going to get there in time. It was a case of whether he was going to win the ball or not, but he still had to get past him in order to be properly through 1-on-1. And it was just weird how Patterson decided to just sprint off his line and thought he could tackle the lad instead. But yeah, it's with Patterson. He has made some questionable decisions regarding his goalkeeping this season, but that's still a great.
I think he saw the 1-on-1 coming and just committed to it. And once you've started going towards someone like that, you've got, as a keeper, you're either all in or you're all out. You can't hover halfway because that's where you get easily lobbed. So I think he just went for it and it was misjudged. But I mean, as soon as he broke away on that attack, I was on the commentary saying they've got to score here. This is definitely a goal. We're going 1 down here as he dinked it over, So it's just one of those things. But yeah, prediction for Huddersfield. What score are you going to go for?
I'm going to say a 2-1 Sunderland win.
2-1 Sunderland win.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and say 3-0. I'm going to say clean sheet. Patterson's got a lot to make up for. Going to be a clean sheet. Well, quick one before we close up on that one. Would you change anything on the defence? Because obviously he started again with 09 at the back. And if you remember Terry's whiteboard, he was saying we should get him back into defensive midfield. Well, what's your stance on the defence at the moment?
Well, he may be forced to. I mean, there was a comment placed that you put on here a few minutes ago regarding Ballard's 1 yellow card away from a 2-game suspension, so he might be forced to change it very soon. Defensively right now, it's a question I was going to put to you actually, Michael. Do you think if we were to rest one defender right now, it probably would be Hume, I'd say. I think, was it Hjelder's just finding his feet, and I think you can't break up that partnership of Ballard and 09. But if you were to rest Hume, would you put Sealt there or give a run out to Pembele to add more pace to the right-hand side?
I'd like to see Pembele get some more minutes. Quite highly rated when we first signed him. Obviously, he's had problems with injury and stuff like that, but I'd love to see him get some more time. Not sure if Hume does need the rest. I'm still on the fence whether 09 would do a better job in that centre alongside Dan Neil. Do you know, and having a proper centre back next to Ballard. Silt can play as a centre back. That Hjeld can play as a centre back. You know what I mean? Obviously, we had Triantis, but he's gone out on loan. But I like 09, and I really do love him as a player. And going forward and creating plays, brilliant. But that would be better served next to Dan Neil.
We've got isn't Alessi due back soon as well?
Yeah, exactly. And if Hjelder keeps doing as well as he does, can you drop him for Elise? It's just It's difficult because we're getting to the point where we were struggling for a left back. So it's panicking in January, and we're gonna end up in a situation before the end of the season where you're gonna have 2 or 3 good players not getting game time, or rotating every single game, which again would be madness.
Yeah.
So, right, should we wrap it up there then?
Yeah, I think that's we've covered every angle for tonight. Like I said earlier, I'm intrigued to know the other guys' opinions on Series 3 of Sunderland Till I Lie, but watch this space on Thursday.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, everyone who's joined us. I've had a consistent 50-odd people in here. If you could all hit like, much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Loads of things on the channel. We have match commentaries, we have Thursday night lives, all sorts, guest appearances. It's wonderful. Stay with us. Jacob, would you like to say?
Yeah, this video goes out also, which was highlighted at the end of the last episode of Sunderland Till I Die Series 3. This video goes out to Ian Wake, fantastic fan.
Definitely. Well said. Well said. Would you like to say your goodbyes on top of that, Jacob?
Goodbye, everyone. If you're down Huddersfield tomorrow night, like myself, keep the faith.
And from me, goodbye. If you're down Huddersfield and you see Jacob, don't forget to buy him a drink. See you all later.